Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Today we're going to remember for those who will not or cannot remember. This is going to be from Deuteronomy chapter 9. Turn there as I introduce this. So today is going to be about intercession. Now, what is that? That's when you ask for another when they cannot ask. And it's to act for another when they cannot act. And to remember for another when they have forgotten. So just in general, thank you for joining us here with Be With Me. This is about a 7-minute podcast for all of us, me and you, to try to touch the heart of God. Now, he's gone to great trouble to create the world, send a rescue mission, and then record all this in his word. And our goal is to put ourselves before it each morning, each day, to see what this exposure does for us. And sometimes it's sobering and sometimes it's glorious. And then generally we try to finish by pinning one thought to our chest to carry around with us through the day. So whatever happens, whether for good or for bad, we then try again, take another crack at it tomorrow. So I find it most helpful to attach this listening to watching, or watching, if that's how you like to do that, to watch another, to do this as a part of your day, to habit stack it with something that you already do. For example, with your morning coffee, or maybe your drive to work, or when you put your makeup on. So here's the story for today. Now, the context is Moses is recalling the event of the golden calf a number of years back. This is just after the Exodus, and that's when the Jews were in slavery in Egypt. And they personally experienced the Lord's redemption and his Lord's mighty hand, and it was put on Egypt with the 10 plagues. And then the Lord had his special presence in the midst of them as he led them by fire through the night and a cloud through the day. And then Moses goes for 40 days up to Mount Sinai to receive the commandments of the covenant. And while he was away, the people fall into rebellion against leadership and against the Lord. They turned aside quickly. They sinned against the Lord. They made a small god. They made another god. The way Aaron put it is, hey, we threw some gold into the fire, and out came this calf. So they built an altar. They worshiped this god that doesn't exist. All this very offensive to God. Needless to say, the Lord's anger burned hot against them. And then Moses intercedes. He stands in the gap. So what does that mean? Well, intercession is when you ask for another when they cannot ask, and to act for another when they cannot act, and to remember for another when they have forgotten. So when they've lost their standing before God, Moses stands before him on their behalf. All right, so intercession in general is done for knuckleheads. Well, why is that? Well, if they weren't a knucklehead, they wouldn't need interceding. So Moses here, he reminds God, which is kind of a unique thing that I saw today, is that he reminds God of his history and his promises to other human beings. So Moses remembers for the other people. It would be like us today saying, Lord, you love your son. Lord, you love the actions of your son in redemption. You know all the trouble that he went to on behalf of your people. And Lord, you've loved your church for years. You've gifted her and organized her and supplied her with yourself. You filled believers with it. So please act in accordance with the love and grace that you have for your son and the church. That would be an example of remembering here today. So part of intercession is then to remind the Lord of his love, of his hesed, of his faithfulness. Now, obviously, this is something that he can't forget or that he's forgotten, but it is exampled by Moses, so we probably should pay attention to it. So in doing so, how do we intercede? Well, we act as the other person should act. In the case that we'll see here in the scriptures, he humbles himself. He asks what the other person should be asking for and interceding for. That's the second thing. And the third thing is he remembers what the other person should be remembering about themselves and about the Lord. So watch as we see this in the passage today. This is Deuteronomy 9:25. So first, he's going to act as they do not act. He's going to bow down and humble himself. So I lay prostrate before the Lord for these 40 days and 40 nights, because the Lord had said he would destroy you. That's the first thing. Then he asks as they do not ask, so he prays. Verse 26, and I prayed to the Lord God, do not destroy your people and your heritage, whom you have redeemed through your greatness, whom you have brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And then he does the third thing, is remembers what they do not remember. Verse 27, remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do not regard the stubbornness of this people or the wickedness of his sin, lest the land from which you brought us say, because the Lord was not able to bring them into the land that he promised them, and because he hated them, he has brought them out to put them to death in the wilderness. For they are your people and your heritage, whom you brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm. So to intercede is three things. It's to ask for what they cannot ask. It's to act when they cannot act. And then the third thing, which was unique to me, new to me today, is remember for another person what they have forgotten. So the challenge today, or just a question of today, is do you have somebody in your life, or find somebody in your life that you could stand in the gap for? Someone who is not acting right, he's not asking right, and he's not remembering right. And then intercede for them, which is to do for them what they cannot or will not do for themselves. So intercede for somebody today. Thanks for listening.